hearse driver. The deceased started knocking from inside the coffin. She didn't want to get out. She wanted me to drive faster. There is one unbreakable rule in this job. Never think about who's in the back. To you, it's not a person. It's the cargo. An object that needs to be transported from point A to point B, quietly, professionally, without emotion. My name is Paul, and I learned that rule during my first month on the job. If you don't, you lose your mind. My partner, Frank, was in his late 50s, a man worn down by years of cynicism and cheap cigarettes. He followed that rule perfectly, but his cynicism came from exhaustion, not cruelty. "Good job, Paul," he liked to say while staring at the empty night road. Quiet work, no complaints. Honestly, I'm ready for my final run. Been waiting long enough. That evening, we were picking up a body from a typical apartment complex on the edge of town. A woman named Margaret Collins, 92 years old, passed peacefully in her sleep. Textbook case. The apartment smelled of medicine and something else, something final. Her grey-haired son helped us carry the velvet-lined coffin. No tears, no breakdowns, just thick, heavy grief. We loaded the coffin into our work vehicle, a battered but reliable Ford Transit converted into a hearse. Frank drove. I sat in the passenger seat. We were heading toward a small rural town where the family planned an overnight viewing. The sun was sinking low, painting the sky in deep red and purple tones. Dusk is the worst time for this job. It's when the world loses its sharp edges and shadows begin to feel independent. We left the city without a word, just the steady hum of the engine and tires rolling over asphalt. Then, after the last traffic light faded behind us and the highway grew dark, I heard it. A knock, then two more. A dull, hollow sound coming from the cargo area, like someone tapping knuckles against the coffin lid. I stiffened. "Did you hear that?" I asked. "Something shifted," Frank said, though his hands tightened on the steering wheel. The sound came again, rhythmic, deliberate, not random anymore. It felt disturbingly purposeful, like a heartbeat struggling to restart. "Frank," I said carefully, "it's knocking." "Don't start," he muttered, taking a drag from his cigarette. His exhale came out uneven. That's when the road changed. We were passing through a wooded stretch of highway. Street lights were sparse. One flickered and went dark as we passed it. Then the next, then another. One by one, they shut off behind us. The radio hissed and died. Silence filled the cab. Then we heard it again, louder this time, clear. "What the hell is going on?" Frank muttered. The temperature dropped instantly. A biting, unnatural cold filled the cab. Frost bloomed on the inside of the windows. The engine began to sputter. "Hit the gas," I said. Frank floored it, but the van felt heavy, sluggish, like it was pushing through thick syrup. That's when I saw them, not in the mirrors. Outside my side window, a shadow peeled away from the trees. Pitch black and fluid, it slid alongside the van, keeping pace. It had no fixed shape, twisting like liquid darkness. When I turned my head, I saw another one moving alongside Frank's window. We were surrounded. The knocking from the coffin turned frantic. It wasn't a request anymore. It was a command, fast, urgent, panicked. "They're catching up," I shouted as one shadow stretched into a thin, needle-like limb and pressed against the glass. The frost thickened where it touched, forming dark, jagged patterns. The sound it made was like sand scraping across metal. The knocking reached a terrifying intensity. It felt like the coffin would split apart. She wasn't trying to escape. She was trying to get away, to reach somewhere those things couldn't follow. And suddenly, I understood. We weren't just transporting the dead. We were protecting her. Our hearse wasn't a vehicle. It was an ark carrying a soul through territory where predators hunted. "The town is close," I shouted. "They don't like the light. We just have to reach the town." The engine screamed. The speed dropped. The shadows clung to the sides of the van, scraping and grinding. And then the knocking stopped. Instantly, completely. Frank looked at me, his face drained of color. "That's it," he whispered. "We didn't make it." The shadows outside slowed. Then, reluctantly, they pulled back, dissolving into the forest. The engine steadied. The cold faded. Ahead, the lights of the small town appeared on the horizon. We had lost. We arrived in silence. Margaret's son met us at the door. We unloaded the coffin. It felt lighter than before, unnaturally light. We carried it inside. I stood off to the side, hollow and numb. I had failed her. I looked at Frank. He leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. He looked older than he had an hour earlier. Much older. That's when I noticed his hand pressed against the wall. It was translucent. I could see the wallpaper through it. "Frank," I whispered, "your hand." He looked down at it without surprise, only deep, endless fatigue. "They don't always take the one in the box," he said quietly. "The dead are a signal, a beacon. They come for the light, but they take whoever is warmer, whoever is tired, whoever is already close." His body began to fade, breaking apart into pale, drifting smoke. "The cargo always gets delivered," he said. "That's the rule. Who the cargo is, though, that's their decision. Goodbye, partner." Then he was gone. Margaret Collins had never been afraid for herself. She was knocking to warn us. She wasn't the victim. She was the bait. Frank was the target. The shadows didn't take the dead. They took the one who no longer wanted to keep living. I stepped outside into the quiet night. Stars overhead. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Dispatch. Another call. I climbed into the driver's seat of the hearse. I wasn't just a driver anymore. I was a ferryman, and every trip was a race against the shadows. As I stared down the dark road ahead, I pressed the accelerator, not because I was in a hurry, but because for the first time in my life, I was afraid of getting tired.